I tried recording this earlier this week, however, I got a late start and my room was already an oven at that point. Wearing this, I was just sweating.
I'm baking like a toasted cheese here. It's so hot here.
And yeah, it was gross. And yesterday it was too late to have any decent lighting in my room, So this week's video is going to be short and sweet, seeing as there really isn't much to discuss that the book doesn't already. So be on the lookout for the study guide for this weekend's exam. I'll be dropping that here in the next couple days. Now, on to the lesson. Due to advancements in technology and medicine, we're seeing in the US as well as around the world this surplus of people in the ages of 65 and older. Life expectancy has increased and the number of children that families are having has decreased. As a result, we're seeing this huge influx of the boomer population who are going into these retirement homes and they need care providers. And the modern day family is now having on average 1.9 children, meaning more than likely you're going to have 2 kids, if not just one. So think about yourself. More than likely, a lot of you, if you do have a sibling, you typically only have one sibling, if you're not already just an only child. Whereas if you think about back in like the late 1900s, early 1900s, a lot of us were still living on farms and living in an agrarian lifestyle, meaning that the whole family had to work on the farm and you couldn't afford laborers. So a lot of families had, well, just that, big families, a lot of kids, and that's free labor, yo. Now that we're industrialized and we've all moved into inner cities for the majority, now there's no need to have that many children. This phenomena can be seen around the world. Take Japan, for instance. Right now they will need 370,000 caregivers by the year 2025 in order to care for its increasing number of elderly people in their population. Due to this issue that they're facing, this is, as a result, pushing the robotics industry. So this demand for elderly care is heavily pushing advancements in technology. So we see things like RoboBear or Robear. Yeah, Robear. Okay. So we're seeing things like Robear, robotic nurses that perform trivial tasks, picking up forms, dropping off prescriptions, things like that. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. This demand for robotics has also had that trickle-down effect where we're starting to see things like Erica. Creepy, right? She's a news anchor in Japan. Boston Robotics. They're like robot dog thing that'll move cinder blocks and take people their cup of coffee. And the Amazon blimp with its delivery doomsday drones that come deploying out the bottom of it and dispersing over the lands. Crazy times, man. Crazy. Now being a dinosaur such as myself, yeah, it sucks getting old, man. I ate a cupcake and this happens. Enjoy your metabolism. So I want to look at this guy named Philip II. He was a king of Spain in the late 1500s. And you're probably thinking, what does this have to do? Well, it just goes to show how people view death in different societies differently at times. So he was heavily Catholic. With this religion, they saw as hell being permanent, purgatory is temporary, and you'd have to redeem yourself there if you wanted to pass into heaven. Only saints had a one-way ticket into heaven. So during their material, worldly life, their whole active living life, they dedicated their time doing things to prepare for death and shorten their amount of time that they have to spend in purgatory. So death during that time was a fascination. You could even say it was an obsession. They were driven by fear to be virtuous. It was the great motivator at that time. So they would do things to help reduce this amount of time that they would spend in purgatory, like pay their nephew to pray for them on their deathbed and in death to help reduce that amount of time that they spent trapped in purgatory. We can see how pervasive this concept of death was with how it was showcased in a lot of the artwork at that time. In this one, we see the Grim Reaper, what would be interpreted as the Grim Reaper carrying a coffin and a scythe in one hand. And you can kind of see how he's stepping on a bunch of worldly material possessions, kind of in a way of saying all these things sort of don't matter. No matter what you do, basically death will come for you in the end. And in this one, you can see sort of how there's the scale, life and death, scale of time, justice, whatever you want to interpret that as. But no matter what you do, you can't tip those scales. Death does not care. It comes for you regardless at the end, as you can see with the corpse, the skeletal remains of what looks to be like a king with all of his fancy relics and his exquisite staff looking thing, or that might be a sword, I'm not sure. Whatever the case might be, none of these things obviously prepared him for death. He was unable to escape. Death comes for us all. And it's this constant mortal reminder that reverberated through the artwork during that time. So this dude, Philip II, he was obsessed with death. He took personal interest in the mortuary and the corpse assembly in his castle. He constructed his own room above his own future tomb. Like, he slept over his own grave. It was a family catacomb, actually, and he slept above the dead bodies in caskets of former family members. All the women were on the left-hand side, and all the men were ascending in a row on the right. Every square inch of his room was covered in crucifixes and paintings of saints in attempts to give him that one-way ticket or that quick ticket into heaven once he perished.
It's all ogre now.